I doubt if tonight's outcome in Chapel Hill, North Carolina shocked anyone. The Tar Heels, we thought, were an ACC championship contender, and Miami not. That was confirmed tonight. The Hurricanes have a decent team, talented players all over the place. They're fairly close to being ready to compete with the best teams in the ACC, but not this season, not on this night. They fall to 0-2 in North Carolina, looking for better things as they are now 5-0 for the first time since 1997. Who was the coach back then? Let's look that up. I don't remember that guy necessarily. All right. Final score 41-31. Before we get into the details on the field and what it means for the rest of the season, Mario Cristobal was interviewed as he left the locker room and headed to the field right before kickoff. And he made a statement that bothers me. Be a freaking leader. Be a man. You are making $8 or $9 million a year. You are the head coach of this football program. You are the leader. You're the decision maker. You can clearly state, and it's acceptable to say that we didn't play a good football game last weekend. There's no question about that. Miami underachieved as a football team. They are better than Georgia Tech. They got beaten by Georgia Tech fair and square, but they are a better, more talented team than Georgia Tech. However, the reason Miami lost the game, not the reason why they underachieved, although that's a coaching issue as well, but the reason they lost the game, not struggled to a win. That should have been the outcome. The reason they lost the game is because Mario Cristobal either A, did not insert himself into the decision and stand up as the leader of the program to make the decision to say, we are taking a knee, or he froze. He had a brain freeze that he doesn't want to admit to, and he didn't even think about it. Regardless, he's responsible. He's accountable. Him alone. That's it. Nobody else. Don't blame anyone else, Mario. Stop blaming 20-year-old kids for that loss. It's your fault. Second possession of the game, North Carolina goes 9 plays, 91 yards. Drake May was not on his game either tonight, and so that doesn't necessarily bode well for Miami in regards to, they saw not necessarily the best of Drake May, but he still hung in there. He was still tough. He was still a leader. That might be a bit of a storyline here. That's just it's kind of topical. He was the leader. The 20-year-old was the leader in this game. 4 touchdown passes for Drake May, and Carolina went up 7-0. Miami comes right back. They drive down the field, and I will credit the coaching staff, and more importantly and more significantly, I will credit the Miami players because they didn't fold after what happened last weekend. So even though they lost this game, they didn't fold. They put up a good fight. It was a good game. They didn't let it slip away until fourth quarter. So it was a good football game. I just don't think they're as good as North Carolina. I think it's fairly close. They could play next week, and they could win. They could play next week and most likely would lose by a score or two. But Miami goes all the way down the field. They get inside the 5, and Henry Parrish coughs it up. Cedric Gray, one of the least known superstars in college football. This guy leads the nation in tackles over the last 2 years and last season, and solo tackles. Cedric Gray. You'll hear that name again. He's a really good player, has been, again, for a long, long time. North Carolina actually kept, in a sense, Miami in this game based on stupid penalties. Although Miami chipped in with their fair share of stupid penalties, for North Carolina, they were dumb penalties in the course of action. For Miami, it was stupid, personal foul, unsportsmanlike conduct type of penalties. So this program is not being run very well based on the indications that we receive from being poised. The players and the rest of the coaching staff is a reflection of the head coach. They're not poised, and they make bad decisions. Cam Kinchins had a sack on Drake May, 4th and 25. I got another Derek May in my life. Drake May, 4th and 25. Keontre Smith, though, he's a veteran player. He's a senior, I believe. Dumb personal foul penalty after the play. They still stopped. Miami plays a good defensive game despite giving up 41 points. For the most part, at most junctures of this game, they played pretty well. Cedric Gray, we talked about him. Stick Lane for North Carolina. He had a dumb penalty on a late hit out of bounds where he just kept shoving and shoving and shoving the ball carrier. So that hurt North Carolina. Then the defensive back for North Carolina held Colby Young. That would have been a touchdown. That would have been a nice pitch and catch from TVD, Taylor Van Dyke to Colby Young. But Xavier Restrepo capitalized and they scored the touchdown. So Miami's on the board at 7-7. Then the Canes come back with a beautiful 11-play, 92-yard drive. TVD this time to Jacoby George, who had an outstanding night. 6 receptions, 125 yards. Miami's yards per play. The offense is so much better under Shannon Dawson than it was under Josh Gaddis. And TVD's healthy for the most part. He's gotten banged up a little bit in these games, but nothing close to last season. The yards per play, so much better, more efficient, more explosive offense. The turnovers are an issue. I'm not necessarily going to blame that on Shannon Dawson. I think that's more about TVD not seeing some things. North Carolina, the next drive, they went run heavy. Recognized that Drake May was slow starting in this one. They went run heavy with Omarion Hampton, 24 carries for $197. He scores the touchdown to make it 14-all. Next North Carolina possession, I don't know what they're really doing here. They just ran it down Miami's throats. Drake May is not playing well at this point for him. They get the ball back, and they had a certain amount of time on the clock, like 3 minutes, where you can run the football. And they went pass, 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 incomplete, 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 chewed up all of 17 seconds, give the ball back to Miami for the Canes to go 57 yards on 7 plays, hit that field goal to close out the first half, 17-14 Miami. Matt Lee had a bad snap. He's one of the best centers in the country, but did have a faux pas on the bad snap that caused a fumble, and North Carolina recovered. So that's a wasted possession on your center not doing his job. But again, it's Matt Lee. He's one of the best in the business. Just made a bad play there. Ruben Bain, something needs to be said about him because we've talked about him endlessly within the past, the Wholesome One, and now Cam Underwood, State of the U, who's been talking about Ruben Hurricane Bain as being one of the underrated recruits in the country, and he is proving that out. Cam Kinchins maybe a few years ago in that same mold as a under-regarded recruit, but as a 3-star, maybe pushing the 4-star level, explosive player off the edge. If he continues to work at his craft, he could turn out to be a superstar. He's an explosive player. We saw him do his thing. Need to talk about Tez Walker, North Carolina wide receiver. Because of the stupidity of the NCAA, they changed their rules. That's fine. That's another matter. He got his paperwork in time to be grandfathered in to be able to transfer without penalty and be immediately eligible. The NCAA sat on that case the entire summer, even though the paperwork was submitted sometime in the spring. They sat on it all summer and held him out. Game after game after game after game. This was his second game back. So cooler heads prevailed, better, wiser people prevailed, more sensical, common sense people took control of this situation and to others across college football because Tez Walker transferred out of North Carolina at a smaller school because of COVID, missed a season. Not his personal COVID issue, but the team not playing a game during 2020, transferred out, had to come back, had some family situations, some family issues, but was not eligible to play to start the season. Finally, the NCAA made the right choice, and he's back for his second game, and we saw what Tez Walker did tonight. Post pattern, burned the defensive back, touchdown 21-17, North Carolina. 6 catches for $132 for 3 touchdowns. Tez Walker's a tremendous player. Third quarter yardage. North Carolina 182, Miami 28. This is when Carolina took control of the game, marched out to a 21-point lead at 38-17. 41-31 final. TVD had to throw it 48 times. That's too many times in a competitive conference game like this. 372 through the air, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. A really bad pick, by the way, that cost them. It was still a tight game, and that took it from 21-17 to 28-17. Miami only ran the ball for 97 yards. Henry Parrish had 73 on 13 carries. Again, Drake May off night, 17 of 33. Still 4 TDs, no picks. And Hampton again, 197 on the ground, and Tez Walker 133 through the air. North Carolina coming up. Virginia and Georgia Tech. You got to count those as victories, even though we know college football is strange. Coming up in 3 weeks, they've got Duke. They're 3-0 in the conference right now. Miami is staring at 0-3. Canes lose this one after the debacle against Georgia Tech. They've got Clemson at home. Sure, they could win that game, but Clemson has their act together a little bit better than Miami does, despite 2 losses. Your thoughts about the Canes, your thoughts about the Heels. Could North Carolina possibly challenge the likes of Florida State? Louisville lost tonight unexpectedly, but still, again, if you follow college football long enough, you should not be surprised by these teams and the roller coaster ride. Best discussion, debate, and analysis right here at the Voice of College Football. We will see you soon.